Next on Worcester News tonight, a local business making a healthy impact on the city. And one of the strongest storms to hit the U.S. is transformed into art at a local college. Good evening, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim McCone. We begin tonight with the findings of one of the most hotly debated topics in Worcester all summer. The city releasing their findings from the audit of all 11 organizations participating in the state-funded health initiative, none of which they say show any evidence of fraud. The decision to audit the organization comes after a heated city council meeting back in the summer. Mosaic Cultural Complex was originally the organization singled out for the audit, and while there was no evidence of fraud by Mosaic, questions were raised about why they did not pay their employees over a period of months. Well, some positive energy and keys to a healthy lifestyle coming from one local business on Lincoln Street. Livin opened its doors a little over 2 years ago. The business is focused on making the community healthier. They offer nutrition programs along with healthy shakes and drinks while also trying to educate people on the keys to healthy living.
If we can educate the community that taking little baby steps, changing out having a shake every day for breakfast instead of skipping or going through the drive-thru can make a major impact over time, we're gonna change a lot of lives.
Their motto is 80% nutrition, 20% fitness, and 100% mindset. Their business is nutrition, but they're also trying to make sure that the 20% fitness is available to everyone in the city, offering free fit camps to the public 3 nights a week. And the free service has taken off, with more than 100 people showing up for the workouts during the summer.
Everyone's high-fiving and, shaking hands and getting to know one another, and at the same time, we'll have collegiate-level athletes doing exercise and a grandmother who hasn't been to the gym in years, but just at a different modified level. So everyone can do something.
And they aren't stopping at just the workouts. This Saturday, Livin is putting on a midnight run in the city, free to the public.
I read the paper and it's a lot of overdoses and a lot of violence. So we just want to show people that that's not all that's going on and that there's positive things happening in our streets. So what we do, this is the 3rd one we've done. We're going to have over 100 people run from the old courthouse on Main Street all the way up Lincoln, escorted by the Worcester police so that it's safe. And it's going to be all ages, kids, pets, everyone. So we're shooting for over 150 people to show up to kind of make a positive commotion in the city at midnight on a Saturday.
And if you would like to participate in the run on Saturday, they are meeting in front of the old courthouse at 11:30 p.m. Or for more information, you can visit their Facebook page at Livin. That's Livin. Well, Election Day is getting closer and closer, and today the Worcester Youth Center held a program called Unity in the Community, which hopes to spark political interest locally. Some city council candidates attended the session, which was moderated by a local college student along with a panel of high school students. The panel asked a series of questions regarding the 4 topics of youth health, education, safety, and employment. The purpose of the event was to promote youth civic engagement while providing voters an opportunity to learn about some of the candidates.
It would be ideal.
Young people need to understand that they have a place in this civic world, within this process, that they also will become voters. Some of them are 18, they're already at the voting age, and that this is the process that they need to understand. This is how rules are made, this is how resources are distributed throughout the city, and they just need to be heard.
Worcester's Family Health Center and UMass Medical School continue to receive help for its HIV health care. 2 facilities are splitting a $1 million grant from the Department of Health and Human Services. The grant is aimed at providing additional resources to medical teams.
It takes a real multidisciplinary team to do it, and this funding allows us to have that multidisciplinary team approach. If we didn't, like I said, it just wouldn't work for a lot of people.
The Ryan White HIV/AIDS program grants funding to hospitals and other healthcare facilities for HIV and AIDS treatment. An effort to strike back at individuals charged in gun crimes. A city councilor is filing an order that he says will help further protect the city. Our Olivia Lemon has the details.
What the current law does do well is if drugs are found, it provides a speedy avenue for the eviction process.
But it's what the current law doesn't do well, Worcester City Councilor Mo Bergman is concerned about. He says right now, if police discover drugs during a raid, they notify the landlord and the landlord can have the tenant evicted. Bergman says this isn't the case if firearms are found.
We leave the police with this difficult position that they find weapons that are dangerous, but they don't have the law behind them to allow the landlords to remove the particular tenants.
Bergman has created a home rule petition request which would expand the law to include crimes involving guns and other dangerous weapons.
We'd have to approve it as a council. We get forward to the state house for our state delegation to promote it, and then it would come back to us if it was approved as law.
Whatever we can do to improve the quality of life in neighborhoods and make people more safe is certainly something that we want to do.
Lenny Schifredo serves on the Brown Square Neighborhood Watch Group in Worcester. He says he wants people to feel safe living in the city, and one way to do this is have safe neighborhoods.
There's always concern, and certainly we don't want it to go from juvenile issues to, you know, people with guns on the street.
I want a better quality of life. 99% of the people that live where I live, the Council Bergman said, are good law-abiding citizens.
Worcester Police Department statistics show gun violence increased this past summer. Bergman says this could be another option to keep the city safe.
If we let them back into the same dwelling, we're really not preventing a crime and making the neighborhood safer. This would prevent that to a large degree.
Olivia Lemon, Worcester News Tonight.
Police are asking anyone with information about a home invasion on Main Street last night to please step forward. Police were called around 9 p.m. Thursday and responded to the 500 block of Main Street where they found a 22-year-old female victim. She told police when she arrived home, she found 3 men in her apartment. According to the victim, at least 2 of the men were armed with a handgun, and one of them brought her into the bedroom and tied her up. The apartment was ransacked. The victim was eventually able to free herself and call for help after the men left. One of the men is described as a Hispanic male, possibly in his 20s, around 5'2", with braided hair and a small build. The second suspect is described as a white or Hispanic male, approximately 5'2" or a little taller, possibly in his 20s and wearing a hooded sweatshirt. There is limited description on the third suspect. The investigation is ongoing. Also in Worcester, police are searching for suspects after a reported stabbing late last night. Police tell us around 11 o'clock they were called to the parking lot of Compare Foods on Main Street. They found a 25-year-old male victim who had been stabbed in the leg. His injuries are not considered to be life-threatening. He told police he was arguing with 3 females at the time, and one of them stabbed him with a pocket knife. Anyone with information is asked to call police. More than 24 people, including 5 children, are without a home after a fire in Worcester Thursday night. Firefighters were able to knock down the 1-alarm fire quickly, but sprinklers inside the apartment complex were activated and led to extensive water damage. 22 adults and 5 children were displaced by the fire. An anonymous tipster who raised questions about the integrity of a juror who convicted Aaron Hernandez of murder was in court today. Our Monica Medea has the details.
Lawyers for Aaron Hernandez walked into Fall River Superior Court without comment. A judge's order also prevented prosecutors from speaking about Friday afternoon's private hearing. For just under 2 hours, attorneys questioned the woman who raised concerns about a juror who helped convict Aaron Hernandez in the 2013 murder of Odin Lloyd. That woman, still unidentified but called Katie in court documents, apparently reached out to Hernandez's attorney, James Sultan, after the June verdict. She reportedly told Sultan she worked with the juror and heard that person talking about a Boston murder case Hernandez is charged in, something the judge barred. The district attorney questions the tipster's credibility, saying she carried on a sexually explicit letter-writing relationship with Hernandez. His attorneys have said they're pursuing Katie's claim to be sure no wrongdoing happened at trial. NECN legal analyst Michael Coyne says Friday's hearing is unusual.
If the court finds during the hearing from receiving the evidence today that his right to a fair trial was impacted as a result of the information that the juror had, then the court does have the ability either to order additional hearings or, in fact, to order a new trial. It's a pretty high standard we have in Massachusetts to try and upset a jury's verdict.
And at this point, we still don't know exactly what happened at the hearing today. We'll have to wait to hear from a judge on that. In the meantime, Hernandez's attorneys wouldn't say anything today other than to say that Hernandez is doing well in prison. Reporting in Fall River, Monica Medea for Worcester News Tonight.
Now to the latest on Hurricane Patricia. It's off the western coast of Mexico and has grown into a monster Category 5 storm. Kirk Gregory has the latest on what's being called the strongest storm in the Western Hemisphere.
Mexican authorities have issued a state of emergency, and people are bracing for sustained winds of 200 miles per hour.
I think to anyone on the coast, it's extremely dangerous.
Patricia only formed on Wednesday and continued to churn and grow, moving towards the Mexican coast. It's expected to make landfall near the tourist resort of Puerto Vallarta.
This hurricane will effectively be the most intense hurricane that has existed in this part of the Pacific in our country since records began in 1949.
More than 7 million people will be directly affected when the storm makes landfall later tonight, including tourists from the United States. Hotels are trying to evacuate guests.
I'm just worried because, if we don't get out of here, and we drove into town to get out, which is not the direction we wanted to go. So if we don't make the flight, then we are riding it out here.
Once it makes landfall, there will be, a substantial surge in flooding at the coast.
Forecasters are calling Hurricane Patricia a historic storm and are advising people to move as far inland as possible.
This year marks 10 years since the devastating Hurricane Katrina. It's known as one of the largest natural disasters in our country's history. And the College of the Holy Cross is commemorating it in a unique way. Our Kayla Mimlak has more.
Hurricane Katrina killed more than 1,200 people and destroyed an estimated $108 billion of property. This year marks 10 years since the destructive storm, and witnesses are in Worcester sharing their experiences through art.
Art, to a large extent, can memorialize loss and tragedy, and I thought this was an interesting way to tribute the different neighborhoods and to acknowledge the devastation.
Artist Dawn Dideau was born and raised in New Orleans. She rode out the storm in Mississippi and returned to find her home and art studio, like many others, destroyed. She said the experience made her want to create art more than ever.
I think it was rebuilding a world that had been disfigured, and it's 10 years after Katrina, and it seems as though the community is still, the city, the area, the region is still rebuilding in a way.
The Cantor Art exhibit at the College of the Holy Cross is hosting more than 10 artists as witnesses in commemoration of the anniversary. Director Roger Hankins says it is the best way for those who were not there to get a sense of what Katrina really did to the people of New Orleans.
It's a story about survival. It's a story about hope. It's a story about regeneration and making things right again.
Dideau says she remembers many of the other featured artists from before the hurricane. She says the experience has changed everyone's art, and this exhibit gives her a strong sense of unity.
You have to accept the outcome of nature, and you're not in it alone. It's both cruel and magnificent. It takes and gives back.
And this exhibit is actually the second part of a two-part series. The first part portrayed the hurricane as the disaster hit, and this portrays the aftermath. It's open to the general public through December 18th. Kayla Mamalak,